Awesome, great, glorious day it is. This is the day the Lord has made, and indeed we shall rejoice and be glad in it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Umubanga podcast, where we aim to inform, transform, as well as inspire. Our guest, ladies and gentlemen, today is one of Zambia's most respected Pentecostal leaders, having faithfully served for decades under the Pentecostal Assemblies of God, PAOG. He rose through the ranks of ministry to become the presiding bishop of the Pentecostal Assemblies of Zambia, guiding the church through seasons of growth, revival, and structural development. Under his leadership, PAOG strengthened its national and international footprint, planting churches, raising leaders, and expanding its reach into communities with evangelism, discipleship, and social impact initiatives. Our guest is also known for commitment to sound teaching, mentoring young pastors, and building a strong church governance system that has empowered many congregations to flourish. His ministry journey has carried both high moments of revival, the expansion of churches, seeing lives transformed, and lows, including the painful loss of his wife, a season that tested both his resilience and faith. Yet, in God's grace, our guest has experienced restoration, later finding love again, a testimony that has encouraged many believers walking through grief. Today, though he has passed on the mantle of presiding bishop, he continues to serve as a vital voice and a father figure within the Pentecostal Assemblies of God, offering wisdom, guidance, and mentorship. His story is one of faithfulness, endurance, and unwavering love for God's work, leaving a legacy that continues to shape Zambia's Pentecostal movement. Ladies and gentlemen, for the first time and a great honor, Bishop Harrison Sakala.
Thank you very much for this opportunity to feature on this podcast and just to share a word or two about my journey in the faith as a family man, as well as the journey in ministry and the walk with the Lord. I'm so delighted to be on this podcast.
Bishop, this is a great honor. I think the first time I officially met you and spoke to you was sometime back in 2024 when we did the photo shoot for you at the studio.
Yes, I remember that time.
Yes, and glad, and we're actually here recording at the Pentecostal Assemblies of God, Tabernacle of David. I can see even the photograph is even outside there. So
That's right. The one you did, eh? Yes.
Yes. So, Bishop, having read this to you and you listening to these words being read to you, how does that make you feel?
Well, sometimes you want to look behind your back and see who it is talking about, but you realize that it is you.
Yep.
And just the grace of God that has pulled you through this journey. And you've rightly put it that there have been moments which have been high, and moments of challenges, moments low, but God is faithful.
Awesome. So, Bishop, I think one of the things which we rarely see is we celebrate our fathers in the faith and all, but we really do not know where they come from, the background and all. And I want you to walk us through your background, your growing up, your upbringing, so that we get to understand the man.
Yes. I think it would be good to understand the man. The man that's on this podcast today has little beginnings. But again, Scripture says, do not despise the days of little beginnings. Yes. My journey starts, I was born in Mufulia in the late 50s, even though, of course, my documents show that I was born in Chipata. It's because when I went to get a national registration card, I think most people in my category of generation don't have the accurate information on their national rates.
Well, I think that was because it was
That's right.
pre-independence.
Pre-independence,
Yes.
yes, yeah. So we end up jumbling things here and there. The one who takes you to get your national ID, maybe you adopt his name and such kind of things. Yes, but I herald from the eastern province of Zambia, but grew up on the Copper Belt province. So my journey started with being born in a family of 6, where we had 4 sisters and 2 brothers. Lost my brother somewhere in 1991, just during the transition from one-party state to multi-partyism. Whatever happened, but he was quite a zealous member of the coming UMMD, but he was in Lundazi at that time, a stronghold of the then ruling party, the UNIP. And so something happened that led to the loss of his life. But of course, we went to pick the body and we buried. So that was a sad moment because I lost my only brother that I had. Well, but coming back to how we were brought up, I was brought up in a Dutch Reformed Church background. In fact, when I was born and sprinkled in the Reformed Church, what they called baptism,
Yes.
I was born Samuel. That was my name that Dad gave me.
Yeah.
But the preacher then, who sprinkled me, baptized me, so to say, he changed my name and proclaimed that actually this boy is going to be a preacher. And so even when Mom was trying to discipline me, and if I did something naughty, she'll come and say, in Ngoni, my language, she'll say, Nimwabu Samuel, she'll remind me to say, you are destined to be a pastor, so you can't behave this way. Yeah. And also I'll be intimidated by that. But I never thought that maybe I'll come to a place of really becoming a pastor. No, I didn't think about that. And so we moved on into Kitwe. Dad moved there first. I should mention that I started school quite late. Since you said I should give a background of who is this Harrison Sakala. Yep. I began school very late because, we were made to touch our ear. So if you fail to touch the ear, then you are young. They pushed you back. So from 1963, when I began looking for school, I couldn't get through. And then with Daddy's movement as well, it jeopardized stability. So as a result, the time I was starting grade 1, I was 13 years old. Okay. But of course, they say that it's not how you start, but it's how you finish. Yeah. And so being in the Dutch Reformed Church from 1967, when we moved to Kitwe, 67 to 73, I was at Kitwe Central Baptist Church and quite close to the family of the pastor then, Pastor Curtis. So I still remember the children of Pastor Curtis, Brother Ray, Frank. Those are the guys I was playing with. And then there was a crusade that took place in 1973 by the then Pentecostal Assemblies of Canada. Okay. They brought an evangelist from Canada by the name of Evangelist Don Schellenberg. Now, before I testify that part, I'll go quickly fast forward. Yes. In 2004, with my late wife Elizabeth, we were preaching in a place in Canada called Maple Ridge. So now in Maple Ridge, I testified. I said, you Canadians, you did a good thing because you sent an evangelist to Zambia 1973, in which crusade I got saved. And you never knew that by that stint, I was encouraging them to keep on supporting missions. Yep. Yeah. So one lady came after church and says, hey, Bishop Harrison, you know what? I know Don. He's now a missionary in Thailand. In fact, right now he's on fellow. He's right now in Maple Ridge. Yeah. So, I gave them the details where we were staying. And by the evening, Don Schellenberg came knocking at our door. Awesome. And took us to the sweet chalet to go and have chicken and chips and the like. And then as we told the story of how I got saved in his crusade, the man wept. He could not even take his meal. And he said, holding my shoulder, Harrison, I did not know that out of that stint of reaching out in Zambia, there will be a presiding bishop and of your caliber. And so I was trying to encourage them to say, don't despise your giving. because it can bring results. Anyway, so that happened. Anyway, going back, so 1973, I got saved in that crusade. I went to tell my mother. I said, well, I'm born again now. I'm a Pentecostal. Because that's the time now I joined the Pentecostal Assemblies of God. Firstly, it was at Bethel in Chimwemwe of Kitwe.
Yes.
And Bethel, baptized by the then Reverend Luke Sefuke. And from Bethel, I moved on to Maranatha Church under several pastors, Gary Skinner, and so forth. And then finally, as Bishop Sky Banda was coming to become the pastor, they had opened up a branch in Indeke, Kitwe, where I moved with a pastor that was sent there. I went just to help out with the work. I should mention that moment I got saved, so to say, born again, I was led into evangelism and church planting, to the point that the pastor that who moved to Ndeke, and I followed him after leaving Maranatha Church, he recognized the calling that actually I was a church planter. So if you want us to go and visit a person who visited the church once and maybe want to open a campus there or a branch, he would say, Sakala, let's go. So I remember some of the churches I planted, like Kamfinsa Assembly, also contributed in Rwangwa and the like, to the point that when I finally wanted to respond to the call, I should mention that the time we were answering the call of God in my day, it wasn't very easy. Because there wasn't a good example of a successful pastor. You know, our pastors were dependent. You know, we just came from independence. So there was a measure in which even the approach to ministry by the mission bodies, they differed. Others use what is called in missions as the downward mobility, whereby you start from the city centers, then you are going downward. Then others use what is called the upward mobility, where you start from the peripherals, then you're hoping that their children will get up to the city and influence the country. We cannot laugh at our earlier pastors for having started with, and missionaries, for having started with the upward mobility, whereby they were first in the peripherals, and then in the cities they couldn't do much. It's because, remember, under the colonial rule, you never had the opportunity as a national to go into the cities without a pass. And the pass came to you only if you had the capacity and potential to find a job. And so all those who couldn't find a pass, you had to go and stay in the villages. And as you are in the villages, you have to also if you're a male, you have to pay the poll tax, which was required from everyone. And so the towns were largely empty, So you have to go to where the people were. So the missionaries were not very wrong in going to those parts. So even when they came into town, they never went into the upper class suburbs. They went to the lower class suburbs, lower class places, so that they can easily reach those people. And so consequently, that's how we found Chimwemwe Church, later on opened a church in Buchi, Lamp, and the like. Then went to Maranatha thereafter, inspired by largely... When I first went to Maranatha Church, I should mention that there were only 2 seats at the back on either side, which were meant for people of my color. The rest of the seats actually were reserved for the whites. That's how Maranatha was. But that time it was not yet owned by the Pentecostal Assemblies of Canada, to be given later to the Pentecostal Assemblies of God, Zambia. It was owned by the Apostolic Faith Mission, the German branch. So actually, the Pentecostal Assemblies of God Canada bought that Maranatha Church from the Apostolic Faith Mission, the German branch. And then that's how, coupled with the coming in of Winston Brooms and the like, that's how Maranatha Church started.
So when was Pentecostal Assemblies of God Zambia formed?
The formation of it, we can say that it's dated to the days of the deliberate visit by a missionary from the Pentecostal Assemblies of Canada. So the time he set foot on the soils, that's what is seen as the beginning. And it was the father of someone who later became the pastor of Maranatha Church, who was Robert Skinner.
Okay.
Yeah, Robert Skinner traveled through South Africa, through Malawi, and came to Zambia 1955 first, and linked up with some missionaries from the Samuel Church.
Yes.
But 1956, that is when he decided to start up something. Okay. And here's what happened. Because I'm speaking and saying this because I spoke to him personally. Oh. I spoke to Bob Skinner. Okay. Yeah. I was trying to compile up something of historical significance.
Yes.
I know that many people who quote people like Bob Skinner, they quote people like, what's his name? I remember the name. One who's like known by many people. They quote him, those who write books on the history. Yep. But I had a sitting with these people myself. I listened to them. Okay. Actually, 2012, I even traveled to South Africa to go and see Jack Magoton. That's the name I was almost forgetting. Okay. Jack Magoton. Jack Magoton was actually first with the Samuel. Okay. And then when they interacted in 1956 with Bob Skinner, that is when he was exposed to the teaching on Pentecostalism and also radicalism. Okay. When I asked him in 2012, he was 81 that time, I asked him, I said, so what did you join hands with Bob Skinner? He said, well, because the Canadians looked to have been very serious with missions, and they were more aggressive. So he says, I wanted to join the aggressive people. Yeah, so that's how the foundation is taken to 1956. Okay. It's because of that interaction and also him, Jack Magoton, being introduced to the Holy Spirit by Bob Skinner. And so after he spoke in tongues, which is our credential as Pentecostals, after he spoke in tongues, it's like he couldn't fit in that structure where he was. So then now he was floating. That's how the assembly said, you can work with us. And later on, that's how the people that were his students in Northwestern Province, people like Zimbili, people like Luke Sefuke, people like Malesu, all those, they also left together with him to become Pentecostals. That is how Reverend Malesu was taken to Chawama, and we have then Luke Sefuke in Chimwemwe, and others pastoring elsewhere, including Sabina at a turn-off to Mufulira. There was something else out there which was going on. That's why even a college was opened now for evangelists by the Pentecostal Assemblies of Canada. But at first, it was a school run by Jack Magoton and others. But when he converted to that, also even the guy who owned the farm decided to follow the Pentecostal Assemblies of Canada. That's how they had an evangelistic class school there. But coming to myself, the journey I traveled with them is that it ended up with my later being in Bible school. Okay. Which transitioned from Sabina into a house on Enos, it's Kanyanta Avenue in Kitwe Central. That was I should mention something, 1978. But I should mention something that the missionaries in Zambia were not having so much, Canadian missionaries, were not having so much impact. And according to the sitting I had with missionary Gary Scott, as well as, who is this one? Gerard Morrison. I asked them, I said, so what made you change from upward mobility to downward mobility? So he says it is a meeting that took place in Kitwe in 1974, where they were on the crossroads. They said, should we close up the mission? Because we're not having so many results. And we've been sending missionaries here and there, but it's like the church is not moving fast. So it was in that meeting that they said, well, why don't we change our approach? Let's go for the high schools and university and the like and so forth. That's how they ended up going to schools, teaching colleges, and that time before it became Kaumbe University, Zambia Institute of Technology, and the like. So it was the young people who were getting saved in those institutions that turned around the Pentecostal Assemblies of God at that time, leading to people like those who got saved, Simon Banda, Green Piri, Sky Banda, George Mbulo, and so forth. And for sure, by the providence of God, the first crop that entered into that college now at Kanyanta,
Yep.
it's like we're divinely chosen. They were very apostolic in nature. They were pioneers in nature. They were sacrificial in nature, and credit goes to them through the grace of the Lord for having been the persons they were.
Yep.
And so they went ablaze, going to all the major cities. Green Piri sent to Luansha, Mavuto Male, People's Church in Indola, Simon Banda Kabwe, Ebenezer, Boniface Mwemba into Livingstone, Calvary, and Benkase Mwansa into Mufulira, and George Mbulo into Chingola, and all that. Then there was also Aristarico Piri into Chilabombwe, and in all these places. And with that, it's like every young person wanted to hear and listen to these preachers.
Yeah.
And for some of them, there was a bit of sounding like Winston Brooms. The Zambian accent fell off, and it was now American, and in those days, everyone else wants to listen to Martin Luther King Jr. when he talks about I have a dream.
Yeah.
And so when you hear people preaching that way, it's like, it thrilled you as young people.
Yeah.
And so the churches were filled and revival broke out. So that's what happened. And that's how the PAOG started. But so the first days from 55, 56 were the peripherals.
Okay.
No much impact. But when we came to the late 70s, then, and of course the critical time was 1974, when Gerald Morrison, Gerald Morrison, Scott Hunter, there was also someone else, Ray Callahan, and also Ivan Reimer, when they said, let's go and attack the major cities using the young people.
Awesome. And you have great detail for names.
Well, they think that when it comes to names, I think I'm a bit of photogenic.
So walk us through now your journey in pastoring. So did you start pastoring before going to Bible school, or it was Bible school found you pastoring?
Bible school found me pastoring.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's why I contend with people who said you became a pastor after graduating. My argument is that I've seen so many who have been trained in Bible school, they are not pastors.
Yeah.
Because the college never makes you a pastor. It is a calling of God. Paul, writing to the Colossians, he said, tell Archippus in chapter 4, verse 17. He says, tell Archippus to take heed to the ministry he has received in the Lord. So primarily the ministry is received in the Lord. The Lord is one who gives you a ministry, but the church you work with or a Bible school that you pass through is a framework of sharpening, giving you the tools. But the actual calling is from God. And with a few decades of ministry I have encountered, I have seen that just like the legal profession, many are those who are offloaded from the legal schools, but very few are practicing. In the same way, in the church, many are those offloaded from Bible colleges, but very few are in the ministry. Therefore, who gives the ministry? Is it the college or the core? I am a staunch believer that the calling is from God. In fact, you can pastor with or without having passed through Bible college. By this, I'm not trying to discount training. Every field has got specialization, and I think we cannot allow people to go and hold the microphone and stand before people without giving them the tools.
Yep.
So before I received the tools, I was pastoring.
Okay.
And so this is why, at the time of my being in Bible school, there was a law that said that if you come single, you go out single. Okay, in Bible school. And you can only come married to remain married and to go out married. Secondly, if you're a student, you cannot pastor. But I was exempted from all those laws.
Okay.
To start with, I was allowed to marry when I was in Bible school, because they recognized that even before I went to Bible school, I was already pastoring. Okay. And though alongside my senior pastor, Bishop Fred Banda, whom I give honor and respect for the assignments that he gave me. Sometimes they were very big assignments for me, because, you're not married, and then he tells you to say, Sakala, I want you to go and counsel that couple. And the couple is giving you 15 years in marriage. But I think he noticed the gift. Yeah. And so, then I went into Bible school. When I was in Bible school, the other exemption they gave me is that I was told not to just sit idle, but where there was a crisis in a church, they'll say, send Harrison to go there. For example, in Mindolo, we had a crisis. The pastor moved to Gospel Tabernacle in Mufu in Rwansha. I took over Mindolo Assembly.
Yep.
Later on, the senior pastor I was talking about who baptized me, when he found that the Mindolo church stabilized, he says, remove that person, is a student. So I was removed from there to go and take over Bethel. So that's how it has been. And it's still in Bible school. That's when I planted also Chambeshi Assembly, which is still a thriving church today.
Awesome. So which was your first church which you pastored?
I planted Kamfinsa Assembly.
Okay.
That was in the mobile police camp there. Yes.
And it's still
there. It's still there. It's recognized a full-fledged church in the Assemblies of God.
Yeah. And now speaking of which, you mentioned being married in Bible school. How did you meet your then wife?
Well, I met my then wife out of the same church, Emmanuel Church. Apparently, though I don't encourage people to marry from the choir, but I did. But I'm married from the choir. Anyway, you can marry from any source. You know, God providentially can bring a person on your path from any other source. But yes, I saw this wonderful, wonderful lady. I should mention that I wasn't close to her. I was close to her friend.
Okay.
And I know this is very subjective to those who are listening, but it's very objective to me, just like Revelation is.
Yep.
Revelation is very objective to the receiver and yet very subjective to the perceiver. As a receiver, I had received a word from God that said, go to Bible school and take Elizabeth with you. And yet I wasn't close to her. I was close to her friend, Catherine. So quickly I rushed to go and see Catherine. I said, Catherine, look what the Lord told me this morning.
Yep.
Then Catherine laughs at me. She says, you know, you are an Adam who took too long to wake up from sleep. Last year, Elizabeth was told by the Lord that you get married to you. That's how she turned away several men. And I told her to wait up until this day. So what you have received is just a confirmation of what Elizabeth saw before you. And so when I went to tell Elizabeth to say, I felt the Lord telling me this, you know what she told me? She says, go and ask Catherine. That's my answer. Now, to tell her that I've already spoken to Catherine, I couldn't. I said, okay, I'll go and ask. So I waited for 2 days. That's when I went and said, yeah, I spoke to Catherine. Then she says, that's my answer. So that's how I met my wife. Then later on, I went to Bishop George Mbulo, who was that time our vice chancellor. I said, sir, I would want to marry.
Yep.
All he said was, well, Harrison, you know the rules of the school, that if you come single, you can't marry while we're here. But anyway, I will give you an exemption. So go ahead. So I married. The academic dean then, Bran Ratten, was there at the wedding, and it was wonderful.
Yeah.
Sure.
Awesome. By the way, what was the name of the Bible college you were at?
That time it was called Kitwe Bible College.
Okay. Now
Yes.
it's called...
Trans-Africa Christian University.
So it's still under the Pentecostal Assemblies
Yes,
of
it's
God.
still under the Pentecostal Assemblies of God. On that now, it's being a university, you know, universal knowledge have to be offered. So it's just the theology and related studies become also just one of the departments.
Yeah.
But the teachers can go there and they like to learn any other subject as well.
So I know people got an opportunity to recognize that you're a church planter, but I think in your journey, there was a moment where now you are like full-time pastoring a church. Like walk us through that journey of fully pastoring a church.
Yes. So after I opened the church in Walsim Bible School,
Yes.
I opened the church in Chambeshi, Kitwe. Upon graduation, the then presiding bishop, Green Piri, he came to me and says, I'll not allow you to continue with Chambeshi because we are weak in the Eastern Province. So I want you to go to Petauke and start from there going all the way. So we need firepower there. That's the language he used. So we need firepower there. So I resisted. I said, no, I want to continue with Chambeshi Assembly. Then they wrote me a letter that I should obey the leadership. So I complied. But in my writing back, I didn't tell them to say, I'm going to go to Petauke. I said, instead, I'll go the furthest. I'll go to Lundazi. Now, understand this. I had not been to Lundazi. I did not even know how it looked like.
Yeah.
But I knew there was Lundazi. In those days, we had one bus company, which was the United Bus Company of Zambia.
UBZ.
And UBZ. And they built bus stops all along the several towns and the like. So I believe that that same bus stop will offer me accommodation. Then in the day, I'll be witnessing. So I wrote him a letter. I said, I'm accepting to go to Eastern Province, but not PAOG. I'll go instead to the furthest, Lundazi. And then I was told, who do you know in Lundazi? I said, I don't know anyone. Have you been there? I said, no. I said, but when I go there, certainly, within 3 weeks, I think God will give me a soul. Because by the providence of God, I'm gifted on one-to-one. Yeah, I don't just see people on a Sunday. No, but I'm gifted to one-on-one evangelism. So I knew that with that one-on-one evangelism, I'll be able to reach someone. And I so trusted that actually I'm going to use their home. My target was that I will go to Lundazi High School and meet the teachers there and speak the gospel. And I don't know where this faith came from. I had this faith that they would be saved. And one of them will offer their home. So I told my wife, who was a very devoted person to the things of God, she said, as the Lord speaks to you, you can go. But before I could go, Bishop Skybanda calls someone. He was a general secretary then. He says, call Brother Sakala. So I went to him. Then he says, man of God, we have a crisis in Kasama. I said, what crisis do we have? He says, look, the building where the church was meeting, it was an interdenominational building. It has been burnt. Then a ministry went there who promised that they will not start a church at all, but they asked for members from Peniel Assembly so that they help them in the crusade. But afterwards, the churches will share the members that were going to be saved. But at the end of the crusade, on a Saturday, he announced that he's planting a church. So all those who went to help there, because there's no pastor at our church there, they have joined him. Then thirdly, the pastor who we sent there has only spent 10 months there. He has left. So the church is in a crisis. Can you go there? I said, well, give me time to talk to my wife. So I went to speak to my wife. She said, well, I'm sensing in the spirit that the Lord wants us to go there. That's how we went to Peniel Assembly. But when I went, first of all, that was August 1987, my experience was a bit discouraging because I jumped on a train, Tazara train. And
at least by then it had some speed.
By then it had some speed. Yeah, exactly. So jumped on the train. I arrived at the rail station there. I was told, look for such and such a person at a police station. So I went to look for that person. The first greeting I got was very discouraging. I want to speak to people that are in the ministry who easily get disturbed and discouraged when they reach an obstacle that seemingly is demeaning them. You know, when you are in the plan of God, it doesn't mean that you are exempted and immune from ridicule, malign, and even being looked down upon. But keep your mind on the call of God, because he will still steer you up until he uses you in the way he wants. So here's my experience. I arrive at a rail station. I walk through to the police station. I meet this person. The first greeting was, is it really you? I said, yes, it's me. Then she says, but the pictures they sent to us look different. I said, well, I don't know about the pictures, but it's me. She says, yeah, because on the picture you look like a big person, but not a small person like you. And I'm small-bodied. There's nothing I can do about it. But I was even smaller then, you see. That's a challenge. So then I was made to sit at a police bench waiting for her to knock off. And I was thinking maybe because I've arrived at 6 a.m., I haven't eaten, and the train was the whole night, she'll be conscious of that. She wasn't. And so I kept waiting at the bench. And you know what happens at the police station bench? 10 hours, somebody comes and says, and what is chap doing here? I know he's a visitor to this person. They mentioned the person. And then later on, again, somebody comes and says, and you, what do you want here? No, he's a visitor. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I was still on the bench. Remember, I spent the whole night on a train.
And you haven't eaten.
And I haven't eaten. And I haven't taken a shower. The clothes are sticking to the body. And then 16:30, 4:30 p.m., that's when the person comes and says, yeah, now we can go. Not knowing that the church I went to, they were angry in the manner the pastor left and also the loss of members they had encountered. Because it was largely a good church, but it remained now with 11 adults who were the people staying in the place, and with a few of their children. So I was taken to the house of the so-called elder. When I reached there, he said, so sad, Pastor, because this time you have arrived, that's when we do Bible study. So instead of you eating and taking a shower, we'll go to Bible study first. You guys have been on the train. But of course, for men of God, and much more, my lifestyle has been a fasted life in ministry. I've lived a fasted life. So I didn't take that as punishment. I just declared a fast. Yeah. I said, maybe the Lord wants me to fast in readiness for ministry in here. So I didn't mind about the food. I think my worry was on the sticking of the clothes on my body. Yeah. So anyway, I went to Bible study, not knowing that what I wanted to do is to verify if this pastor can teach. So I went to Bible study, but by the providence of God, the same subject I was handling in Chambeshi, where I was taken away from by the leadership, is a subject I found in Kasama, and they were behind. In Chambeshi, we were ahead. So instead of the notes they gave me, I put them aside. I just began talking. And I went deeper than what they had put in their notes. So just when the meeting finished, they all came to greet me. No, we want you as a pastor. You know he can teach. I know he's our pastor. He's our pastor. That's how they accepted me. Then later on, that was August. Then in December, I moved with my wife now with luggage. And in August, I was told the house we were going to move in. And but when we went in December, that house was not there. So the truck brought us, that took us to Kasama with all the luggage and the like. The owner was a Muslim, but surprisingly, he had charged us a fee. When we arrived, he changes. He says, no, let me contribute also to your life as you come to serve your God. And then in addition to that, he gives us a 50 kg bag of sugar, because they were supplying sugar. Lions Transport, actually, of Kitwe.
Oh.
Yes. That's how we managed to go there. Then a lady comes and says, I don't know what has happened with this leadership. There was a house, but they've let go of the house. I'm recently married. We are just 3 months old with my husband in marriage. So if you don't mind, stay with us. The husband was out in China. Yeah. So Nigeria. So that's how she took us in. There were no cell phones. So she had to wait for the husband to call, then tell him to say, I've taken custody of the pastor and his family. That's how she took us in. Ironically, that lady who received us that way at that time actually lost her husband. And I lost my wife, fast forward. And she's the same person I've married. So for me, don't think that I saw her then. I didn't see her then, but just the providence of God. She welcomed us so well. And then she's the same person again. God spoke to me to say, go for that person that received you when you first went in the soils of Kasama.
And that was 1980?
That was 1987. Yeah.
So
that's how I ended up in Kasama. Then in Kasama, when I went there, it wasn't easy. There was rejection, there was anger, and mostly, but I understood it. Understood that they had gone through torture as a church. So they were looking forward to stability. By the grace of God, worked through with them. 2 years I never saw. I want to encourage those who go in the ministry and you don't see results in the first 2 years. 2 years I never saw any result. But I was busy teaching them many things that I thought I knew, until partly they understood my philosophy of ministry. I'm given to church planting. Just like this congregation here at the Tabernacle of David has now started church planting again, because it runs in my veins. I'm not a person who sits idle and just be looking inward. I like outward looking. And so I began planting churches. That's how I grew that Peniel Assembly to close to 1,000 members. So what I began doing is that I'll go and look for a meeting place without telling the people. And then after finding that meeting place, I'll just announce, all those who come from this area, stay behind. When they stay behind, I'll give an announcement. Next Sunday, I'll be preaching from this community hall, and all of you don't come to Penny Assembly main branch, you'll be with me there. So there are some people who want numbers to gather in one place. They can't even allow a church to be planted in their area. They'll start saying, this is my territory. I'm not like that. No. I allowed members to get away from the central church. And that's how at the end of the day, I planted 34 branch churches.
Just in the northern province?
Just in the northern province, yes. And but still the main church was growing. Even if people go away, it will grow back again to the numbers.
So what would happen is that the people in that area then, you would train them and establish them?
Exactly. Exactly.
Awesome.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Now, speaking of which, and you getting to encourage young ministers, times have changed now. And also you had a wife who could hear God and support the mission and vision and be able to even go through the difficult times but looking at it where finances are not coming in, because now we've seen that the growing church and with the rise of social media is that the first thing which people look at is, number one, let me build a name. And they are looking at church as a means of financial gain, especially with the young ministers now.
Well, yes, the times have changed, but still the principles cannot change. Because principles are principles. They are universal antidotes. So hard work, resilience, and sacrifice, regardless of the changing times, these are things that should be there. When I went there, it wasn't easy. There was no money. I began growing onions myself. I began growing onions. The profits I made from growing the onions, I began raising broilers. Found a brother who was quite far, and I should thank God that one of the brothers in the church gave me a motorcycle, a Honda CT27. And using that motorcycle, I would draw water to go and take the water to where the chickens were and the like. After raising those chickens twice, 3 times, increasing the numbers, I started to divert the business into the selling rice. Northern Milling was a cooperative mill, so they were polishing rice from Chambeshi. So I began selling rice. And I remember at one point, one of the workers there said, Pastor, you are a regular customer, but you just buy 5 bags, 10 bags, and the like. But since you are very faithful, you come and you pay and the like. We can give you 30 bags, you pay for 10. When you have sold your bags in where you are, come and pay us later. So that trip is what changed the dynamics. I took those 30 bags of rice, went to Kitwe, brought them into smaller packs. One time I even met my pastor, the one I was with when we went to open the church in Chambeshi.
Yes.
Yeah. In his broken English, he says, in Bemba, he says, Iwe Sakala, are you a businessman or you a pastor? I said, I'm both, because of the stage at which the church is.
Yeah.
And so using the proceeds from there, that's how I bought the church plot. So it wasn't the labor or the money from the church that bought the plot at Penny Assembly. So it was my labor.
So Bishop, sorry to cut you short even as you're responding. And I think at that time in like the 90s, the Zambian church was in such a place where like a pastor is not supposed to work. They're just supposed to do full-time ministry. So was that as well the case in the Pentecostal Assemblies of God?
Well, it was the case. In fact, it wasn't just the case in terms of practice by precedents. It was actually embedded in our constitution. That if you're a pastor, you cannot do any other work. I think it was tailored after what was happening to garment workers. In fact, sometimes when they're discussing on how they can peg you a stipend to give you, they'll first go and they look at what the teachers are getting. And then they'll say, yeah, we're going to give you this amount. It's later that we fought against that. We said, no. You cannot use what the government is giving their workers as a standard to keep the men of God. So yes, they never allowed that. But I did the work. And out of the business I was doing, that's how I bought a plot. And ironically, where this place where we are here, where the Tabernacle of David is sitting right now, this is my wife's plot, Elizabeth. We bought this plot.
Oh, wow.
Yes, in fact, to date, I'm there. Since she passed, I'm the administrator.
Yeah.
I haven't even changed ownership into the name of Tabernacle of David
Oh,
because I need to sign some documents, to activate my being administrator and so forth and hand it over to Tabernacle of David. So in terms of buying property
Yes.
for the church, we've been there all along. We've been there. Out of our labor, we work hard. So I encourage the men of God coming to the ministry now, that even though we are living in this modernity, don't be too quick wanting to create a profile for yourself and a name. In fact, some of these big names we have, you find people that have a bigger name than the actual work that they are doing. Then there are other people who have a bigger work than the actual name they're trying to build. Therefore, I would go for the latter. Let your work speak for you, and not you speaking and creating a profile, but meanwhile, you are swimming in shallow waters. Grow until God takes you to the deep end of the ministry.
so in your journey becoming presiding bishop, at what point did you become presiding bishop? Were you still pastoring in Kasama? Or
I was pastoring in Kasama, but because I contributed, let me just mention this.
Yes.
That actually, I wasn't just planting churches in the domain of Peniel Assembly that I was pastoring in Kasama. I mobilized other pastors who are in the northern province to say, let's start planting churches in the towns and communities that have not received the gospel.
Okay.
So we began moving around, and by the providence of God, some of the members I had in the church in Kasama were the Caucasian, So one of them would find me, I'm on a bike and I'm dusty all over, my nose covered in dust. Then he says, Pastor, with all this work that you do, I go this side, you're coming from a branch church. I go this side, you're on a motorbike doing this.
Yeah.
You're not safe outside. So later on, he gave me keys. He says, that Land Rover is yours. I've given it to you. You deserve better. But for me, when I got that vehicle, I didn't look at it as a property for my family, though that's what he said with his wife, Margaret, who was a very wonderful woman. Thank God, may her soul rest in peace. They are back in Ireland, and she passed away to cancer. But Margaret and her husband helped us a lot, because when they gave me that Land Rover, it became now something I sacrificed and dedicated to the Northern District, and I was made district bishop. So as district bishop now, we began planting churches across Northern Province and Luapula and the now Mchinga Province. Yes, went all over planting churches. So I can say I contributed together with my friends with the planting of churches and creating over Northern District then.
So how many did you plant, like, in total? And I know it's still continuing.
Yes, still continuing. Apart from this, there's the 34 I talked about, which were surrounding Peniel Assembly, where I was pastoring. We had 74 that were spread. That's preaching points and also churches that were there. Of course, the others also were planted by the effort of bigger churches, like People's Church in Ndola had gone into Chinsali, planted church. But most of them, we planted them with John Mutale the late, Bishop Nonde, who took over immediately after me before Bishop Banda, and then also Deacons Mumba in Imbala, and others who came after joining us there in the north. We planted those churches.
So now speaking on you becoming presiding bishop, I know when, as John Maxwell says, that everything rises and falls on leadership. And I guess there were certain things like structural, constitutional things, which at some point were like big issues. Like, what were some of the things navigating you becoming a presiding bishop of the PAOG?
I should mention that leaders sometimes miss it. Sometimes we think control is power. I think different. Control is cowardice. Not allowing people to speak into your leadership style and you want to intimidate everyone is cowardice and doesn't produce any fruit. When I was taking over the position of presiding bishop, which was a full-time position.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I say full-time position, for those who are watching this podcast to understand, we had part-time presiding bishop all along, meaning that he still holds a church and then he's going out to work as presiding bishop, monitoring churches and the like. and the doctrine, the job description was there, inspiring the church in sound doctrine and the like, encourage them for growth. Then Green Peary became our first full-time presiding bishop. Then he left to go to the United States of America. In that interim, Bishop Skybanda held that, but he held it under part-time. But people still wanted the full-time. That's how some of us, including Bishop Chama, we fought for Mavuto Mwale to come and become the presiding bishop full-time. And so he became the presiding bishop full-time. After serving 6 years, we went to General Conference because we are a conference. We are conference-based. The way actually the Assemblies of God is tailored is that the authority starts from the local church.
Okay.
The annual general meeting is stronger and above the church board.
Okay.
When you go to the district committee is stronger and above the district executive.
Okay.
When you go to general conference, the general conference is stronger and above the council of bishops. Okay. So in short, we are congregational. Yeah. But somehow, though it was congregational, it was changed in the sense that our leaders were too powerful.
Okay.
So they would even transfer you such that. That's why our history was replete with breakaways. Because pastors were feeling unsafe. So by the grace of God, when I got into office in 1997, I decided to change some of those things in the Constitution. To start with, at a local church, that very AGM, which was above the church board,
yes,
that church board, you never chose them. It's the AGM that elected them. And some of them were influential, but very anti-ministry, And so in one of the conferences, I said, how can it be that a man who is working in the mines or maybe an Indian's shop and is your elder, they have insulted him there. You as a pastor of the church, you are at a mountain praying, seeking the face of the Lord for that church. Then you go in a board meeting, you want to speak what God has revealed to you. The man can't see it. He will simply tell you those things can't work, we have tried them before.
Yep.
Because he's coming from an environment that is different. Let's give the visionary at a local church level to be the one to choose leadership. So to have a mixture and not remove the AGM completely, we brought, maybe someone can say tactfully, but in the ministry, the task is from God. The tact is your responsibility.
Yes.
Yeah. So if I want maybe 6 elders or leaders, I'll ask that the church chooses 10 and I choose 10 and then put in the box and choose who I want. When we did that, number one, there was stability in the church. The breakaways disappeared. Then I brought another law that said if a pastor serves in a church 10 years, consistent service without breaking, the church should build him a house. Okay? Number 3, I let go of power of the presiding bishop.
Yep.
I said no presiding bishop shall dominate over the autonomy of the church. Every pastor is called independently. The council of bishops and the presiding bishop are facilitators of those ministries to create an environment for individual prosperity by their flock, who are the pastors, and never to have power coming from up down, but from the bottom up. So I removed that. The next, I said even the district bishop cannot enter into a local church without the express permission of the pastor and his board, unless where there's a crisis and then there's an appeal from the church or from the pastor. That's where you can go in. Believe me, and those watching this podcast, that is what brought the exponential growth of the Pentecostal Assemblies of God. It is when I destroyed central control and allowed for autonomy and independence of the pastors. Within the period of 15 years, I found 524 churches when I took over Pentecostal Assemblies of God. By changing those constitutional clauses and also making the work progressive by empowering the vision carrier who is a church. Would you imagine how it was? You go into a board, you become the secretary. You're the pastor all along. You become the secretary of the board to take minutes. And a lay person, an elder, becomes the chairman.
Interesting.
How do you become the power?
Yeah.
How do you bring the vision that God has given you? But by giving this power to the pastor, and also even showing the people to say, even me as presiding bishop, I will not interfere in the affairs of that local church pastor. Pastors worked with a sense of liberty. No one was watching their shoulder to see who's going to come. As a result of that, 524 churches in 15 years, we were 1,800 churches.
Wow.
In fact, we became the envy of many. I remember one time Bishop Mambo, John Mambo is well known.
Yes.
He came to me and he says, you, Sakala, why can't you go? And that time they had Bishop Shower. He said, why can't you go and sit down with Shower so that you tell him what you did in PAOG? We were struggling together, but why have you turned it around? And even Bishop Joe recognizes, he says, whatever you did to Pentecostal Assemblies of God, you turned it around. But the answer is lose control, then you have control.
Anyways, I guess maybe it's an African thing where like you die on the throne, you're like a king. Like
Yeah, I think the African thing, yes, is the controlling. We don't think that things can prosper if we don't put our hands there.
Yeah.
But it's the very opposite of growth. And just to talk about even this assembly, when we came in here and we began from my living room, this Tabernacle of David, 9 of us, my 2 parents, our 5 children. For the first 6 weeks, we were just 9 of us.
in what year was that?
That was the 2004.
Okay.
Yes. But
But how come you had to start from the ground when you were presiding bishop?
here's what happened. That's a very good question you've asked. Very interesting.
Yeah.
You know, I like joking or making this statement that misfortune is contagious, luck is not. So when I saw that I'm about to leave office, because there was an outcry of saying, let us return to the part-time. Now we have grown. Now we are stable. We don't need a full-time presiding bishop. My predecessor, when I took over office, was empowered by the then Christian president, Frederick Chiluba. He appointed him to become Deputy High Commissioner to Malawi. So I couldn't walk in that blindness, thinking that when I leave office as well, I'll be sent somewhere.
Yeah.
No. So I decided to start the church from the ground. I know, of course, the leaders I was serving with, they didn't want me to do that. They said, how can you come from being the presiding bishop and we subject you again to pioneer work? I told them, I said, I love pioneer work. I love church planting. But they said no. But ironically, they said that we'll find you a bigger church. But when I surveyed, no one was willing to leave the bigger church.
Yeah.
So where would that bigger church come from?
Yeah.
So that's why I had to start from the ground. And by the grace of God, not in the Hope Pentecostal Assemblies of God, but in Lusaka today, the youngest church, this church, Tabernacle of David, seemingly from what people are telling us, in terms of attendance and membership and so forth, it has become the largest church in Lusaka in the Pentecostal Assemblies of God. So the question may be, why do you grow churches? Let go of power in the hands of people, not in your hands. You know, I read a book by an author from India. It was a very small book. It was about the principle of condensation. Jesus refused to hang around, to control things. He wanted to go so that he can now go several places when he has sent his spirit. And that's why he said, greater works than these you shall do. As long as I remain here on earth, when I'm in Jerusalem, I can't be any other place. But when I'm gone and the Spirit comes, you shall become small Jesuses, so to say, and you shall be everywhere. So all of you combined, greater works than what I'm doing, you shall do. So in the same way, if a pastor wants to see a church grow, let go of power to the people. Don't be playing captain and inspector all the time. Don't be playing control. So I have divided Lusaka into regions and elders are in charge of them. I don't care what they do in those regions. I know they are loyal people. I've given them authority and they're like, hence perhaps our growth here.
Wow. Awesome. I know we're running out of time, but I would want to talk to the fact that during COVID, you lost your wife?
A very sad, very sad space in my life. Yeah.
And like grief is unimaginable. Like there are no words to describe, and in the fact that this was your wife, this is somebody you started ministry together, and you built a lot of things together, and that loss happening. How was that?
Well, in our discussion, I can't say we were ready for death, but we used to talk sometimes, say, I love you so much. I would want to prepare things for you. If he's going, I would want to go first. And she would say, no. You are the vision carrier of the family. I would want to go first. I said, no. So we kept arguing, but we never saw there shall be COVID.
Yeah.
We're just speaking in the ordinary, thinking maybe it will be malaria, or maybe it will be BP in our case, or diabetes in my case, or something, all that. But it came suddenly. I got it first, but I didn't get any treatment. I didn't enter any hospital. In fact, the last journey we made to go and bury her friend in Kitwe. The very one when I was, when God told me to marry her, the one I went to, who said, actually, Elizabeth saw this last year. She passed in Kitwe. So we went to bury, and because she was a close friend, she was given a chance to pay a tribute as well. When we were coming in Dola, my coughing was too much. But I still wanted to go and buy her medicine because she couldn't sleep in the night. She was just steaming and all that. But she refused. No. She was coughing a lot. And it's her who went to buy the medicine at Mkuba Mall there. The cough medicine for me. When we arrived, we only spent a day in the house. Following day, we went to measure for her oxygen. It was very low. And immediately, we packed and went to Levi Manawasa. And that's the last time I saw her. And then on my birthday, the 16th of January, I went to the hospital there. They were isolated there. She saw me through the window. Those who remember when I was still on Facebook, I even testified to say she waved at me and gave me a sign of strength. And I was encouraged and the like. Then the 19th, she parted. We were building this church, wanted to move in, but we couldn't. Because remember, this plot was given by her.
Yes.
So someone said, I want to do the pavers. And since it was in January, it was still raining. We couldn't come in. We tried, said, no, I'm doing pavers, you can't come in. But on a Monday, that's when he said, Pastor, we have done with the pavers. So now this coming Sunday, you can meet in church. And on a Monday, on a Tuesday, she passes. And her funeral became the first service in the plot and the building, the plot she gave and the building she contributed to. Her funeral was the first service we had here. So, and I know there are those who have had grief. You know the questions that come. It's like you want to challenge the wisdom of God. This woman looked forward to the official opening of this church. Why didn't you allow that thing to pass first and take her? And sometimes we want to contend with God. And I think there are moments when you say things, when you're under grief, there are some people get guilty afterwards, thinking maybe they said something wrong against God. I want you to know that God made you an emotional creature, an intelligent creature, and so you are susceptible to negative emotions in times of negative events. And God will not hold you by the neck because of what you said in those moments. Even Job, he said, if I knew where he stays and had power, I was going to take him to court. Come on, Job. Can you take God to court? But it's because the man was going through a period of deep thought as to why a man who was righteous and didn't allow evil, who could even pay a sacrifice on behalf of his children, even though he did not hear they made a mistake. Then you come and suffer the way he did. He says, if I had power, I would do that. But there comes a point where you still speak the words of Job, who says, when I check on the left, I can't find him there. I go to the right, I can't find him there to the west, and so forth, I can't find him. In my behind, I can't find him. But I know that there is a place where he is working. And after he has tried me, I shall come out as pure as gold. So yes, moments of grief will come. And, at that time, I began to say, maybe I didn't notice her getting sick quickly.
Yeah.
I should have then moved quickly and the like. But let me say this. What could I have done? Because if you say, let me rush her to South Africa, they were dying more than here. Let me go to India, they were also dying. Planes stopped moving.
Yeah.
You are totally locked up in a room where you can do anything. But I want to say that it is true what they say, that the loss of a child in terms of stress points is about 73%, just like the loss of parents is 73%. 74%. But the loss of spouse is the highest stress point a human being can endure. And having lost a child, having lost my parents, having lost a wife, I affirm to say yes, it's a very, very tough thing to endure. But through it all, there comes a time when God still warms your heart. Do you get healed? No, you don't. You just get used to live with it, and the impact is reduced as time is progressing, but the healing is not, because this is a person I spent close to 4 decades with. Therefore, you can't allow it to disappear in 5 years. And so God himself has managed to allow me to pick up the pieces and still the work of God. However, somebody from a different church came to me in the 3rd week of the loss of my wife, and said, Pastor, return to church. I said, why? She says, I am a friend of a number of your members in church. Your wife was too much an influential woman. People will not return to that church. If you don't pick up the pieces quickly and show them that God is on the throne, you might lose members. That's how I came to church, and we announced that the bishop is going to come to church. He will give us guidance on how we proceed thereafter with the shutdowns and the like. So I came here, preached a sermon, which others too could recall, and I used the illustration of the African woman and the child on the back. I say sometimes when she's holding the child on the back, the child, the cloth, the chitenge material may fall off accidentally, and the child falls to the ground. But that child doesn't lie on the ground that way. When the mother goes to pick up the child, you still hear from the child saying, Papu, Papu, to go back on the same back where she fell, when the child fell from. So I told the church, I said, I am here to say Papu to my Father in heaven. I'll still go back to the same back and still trust him for tomorrow. And that sermon encouraged many people. They got back into church, and for sure, the church was sustained, and the church is growing up to now. So yes, it was a very trying moment, but God is able to heal any emotional situation like that, even the deep loss of a wife.
And how was it like now with your children as well, like navigating that?
Excuse me. My children navigating that, it wasn't easy. My wife was a very strong prayer warrior. And I think because of her prayer life, she really encouraged children. And maybe the mistake I made as well is that I'm not just it's wrong to say this about yourself, but maybe I'm borrowing from people. They say that I'm not just an effective person, I'm a very affective person. Because I don't have, I'm not corrugated. No. This is why even my style and philosophy of ministry is that anybody, regardless of who it is, anytime, they can come to see me. There's nothing like protocol up there. No one is guarding me there. And even driving, often, I'm not trying to castigate those who are driven, who have protocol around, some even carrying guns. But of course, I know that there's no Al-Shabaab here to be carrying guns for. No, I think it's just to prove some points, which are not anything to do with security. But anyway, so because of that, I end up being very influential in people's lives. And if I go to Chambeshi today and I find people I pastored 1984 to 87, they still treat me as if I'm still their pastor. Yes. So it happened also to the children that we had affected them so much. So the loss of the mother has been a struggle. And it became much more of a struggle when now I announced I took them for dinner at is it C-Suite along Kafue Road? Yes. And I thought I should break the news that I feel that I should move on. Because I was also facing challenges in terms of pastoring, because some of the things that I cannot do with women, my wife would do.
Yep.
Okay. I remember when we were praying for people like those without children, where we even saw several miracles, like I was testifying in class.
Yep.
Yeah. She would be the one laying hands on the womb, and then I'll lay hands on her. But now she's gone. I can't take another man's wife to say, escort me.
Yep.
She's laying hand and I'm putting my hand on the back.
Can't work.
We are disciplined people, not like those who lay hands everywhere.
Yeah.
So we can't just do that. So in short, I felt ministry is being inhibited a little bit. So it was a question of, should I quit and retire and stay with my family? And they would have been very happy. Let me also mention something. Immediately we buried my wife, my children asked me to leave the house. Not for evil. They said, we're going to take you somewhere. So they took me to that place in Meanwood, which caught fire recently.
Legacy Resort.
Legacy Resort, yes. They took me to Legacy Resort for 15 days. And they remained renovating the house, changing things, and pulled out everything I had used with their mother. They changed and they put new wardrobes, everything else, to help me to recoup when I get back home.
Yeah.
Changed the bed, brought a new bed, and I want to thank God for my children, and also that my children in the Lord. Even the late Felix Kazwala also was involved in that. My children did that. So when I got back home, the room was different. My bedroom had changed and transformed.
Yeah.
But apart from that, when I told them now to say, I'm going to remarry, that's the next thing I did as well. After they did that, I said, look, the house is too big. Choose among yourselves. You are all in Lusaka, so choose among yourselves who can move in to come and stay with me.
Yep.
So our fourth born moved in with our children, so I was staying with them throughout.
Yep.
Up until we decided to let go of the house because of several things. You know, the house was on joint ownership with my wife, so some relations of hers misunderstood joint ownership.
Yep.
They didn't know that it's 100%.
Yeah.
They felt it was 50-50. So also with the closeness I was with them, I felt to be very good. This is Africa. You know, in the West, like John Mbiti says, in the West you say, you are because you are, I am because I am.
Yeah.
But here we'll say, you are because I am because you are.
Yeah.
So we are still bound with these links of relations, as it were. So I had to ensure that I gave them a bit of what they wanted, and also gave my children as well, because that's a matrimonial home.
Yeah.
In the event of marrying, I have to leave it to them.
Yeah.
But I thought I should bless them in advance and then take my 20% and start my life anew. And so that's how I had to go away from them and found a house rented by the church. But I'm building right now for matrimonial home with my new wife. But when I broke the news to say I'm remarrying, I should confess that the first days my children didn't take it kindly. And I looked like I was very cruel to my wife. Maybe I did not even love her at all.
Yeah.
But I traveled with them. I wasn't in a hurry. Remember, I was close to 5 years in a period of mourning.
Yes.
Yeah, I wasn't in a hurry. In fact, I married when I was going into the 5th year. Yeah. So, but now they've come to appreciate. Okay, so they revolted, but what made them revolt the most was when God told me to marry the lady I'm married to.
Yes.
I should mention that losing a wife when you have gained a certain status in the society, it's twice as hard to choose a partner than it is a person who has not yet gained. Here's a reason. I'm not trying to say that people are weak. No, they're not weak. They're just humans. People that deliberately try to offer themselves become too many.
Yeah.
I remember some of my elders received some contingencies from other churches who presented a woman that they thought I could marry and fitted in character with Elizabeth. Yeah, and the USA, I've testified in this church here, where someone even, she really wanted to get married to an African who is from Africa, not an African American. And our friends have no shame,
Yeah.
How do you want to get Bishop Sakala, just in case you thought of marrying again? I wouldn't mind if you really thought of me, because I'm looking forward to having a child with a real African name, with a chief, with a village, and, looking forward to that. And she's a wealthy woman, 130 million, with a lot of apartments and a private jet the father left her. But that's not about marriage. That's not what it is. And then God spoke and said, take charity.
Yep.
So when I broke the news to my children, their reaction was, no, that's our mother's close friend. Whenever she was going through a situation, she shared with her.
Yeah.
How can this person now come and become our mother? No, we want her to remain the auntie we have respected.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, I'm feeling God has spoken. So I let go of a lot of things to accommodate my children.
Yeah.
I didn't want to become stubborn. Some friends were saying, look, when you are finding their mother, they were not there, so they can't try to dominate over you now. I said, no, they were not there. That's why I could not pay attention to anybody. But they are there now.
Yes.
So, but we have traveled together, and the last born wrote me a very long message because she was the most ultraviolet. That day when I was introducing the topic, herself simply said, Dad, so this is what we wanted to disturb our meal. Why didn't you tell us why you brought us here? She just picked her food, wanting to go off. She just left the food and drove off. And she wasn't staying in Lusaka, she was staying in Chingola. She drove off.
Direct.
So I remained now. The next one says, Dad, me, I'm very busy. The one she follows. Me, I'm very busy, Dad, so I think I'll just carry my food. So I remained with the 3. And the 3, they said, no, Dad, no comment. We'll get to you later.
Yeah.
So then they organized themselves a second dinner, and they were in charge. So they asked a few questions here and there. So I wanted to defend. They said, this is not your bill.
Yeah.
You spoke last time, it was your bill. This is our bill. Keep quiet.
Yeah.
Now, because I've raised them that way to speak in the life of the Father, I kept quiet.
Yeah.
So they spoke and spoke and spoke until finally, well, as I come to this stage, they are very happy, all of them. They think I made the right choice.
Now, Bishop, I know time is not on our side, and yeah, because I had some more questions, but I want to, before we leave that end, is when you mentioned earlier, you mentioned that the house you went to when you went to Kasama, this is now the wife you're with. Now, question is, how did that then work out, you asking her out?
Oh yeah. What happened was that when I come to the issue of revelation and the prophecy and
Yes.
the like, there's Bishop George Webb. I like mentioning names so that people
Yeah.
can counter check with them. Yeah.
Yes.
Bishop Webb was the first one to see. He never told me.
Bishop George
Weupe Apostolic.
SZ, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
SZ.
SZ, that's my church, yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yes.
George.
Yes.
Yes. So George told her, actually, the same lady who welcomed us,
Yes.
to say, I saw the Lord telling me that actually you get married to Bishop Sakala. And she totally discounted, not that one. I've looked to him, my husband and I, because they were my senior elders when I left Penny Assembly.
Yes.
Then they became senior pastors themselves. Yeah. So she said, no, it can't happen, and the like. And for me, I got stranded because there were so many people were coming, putting themselves in the path and the like. But you have to be careful. You have to pray still. Never get tired of seeking the face of the Lord. So I was visiting one time because we have a work that's going on in Kasama. That's when I felt the Lord saying, visit her. So when I went there, I was with my nephew. And for some reason, as we were eating, my nephew stood up and went to eat from outside. Then I'm saying, this is a setup or what? Then the Lord says, tell her that you marry her. Now, I have not even prepared, you don't do these things abruptly. There must be preliminaries to perfume, and the like and so forth, but nothing like that.
Yeah.
He just said, tell her. So when I told her, she just said, forget it. You can't do that. My husband looked to you as his spiritual father and mentor, and you must come here and say, you are going to marry me? No, that can't happen. But she remembered the words of George Weupe.
Yeah.
But she said no. Then what broke her was that there's another person who is a partner in intercession by the name of Alex Kampamba. I think he should be in the savings bank. He should be the one manager in charge of the northern region. They were prayer partners. So she went to his office and said, Alex, listen what your dad in Lusaka was saying. He was saying this. Then Alex says, Mom, before you go, let me call my wife. So he picks the phone and calls his wife. And he said, honey, what did I tell you that I saw between Mom Charity and Dad Sakala 1 year ago? Then the wife says, you said you saw a vision where they were getting married. Are you sure I said that? Yes, that's what you said. Okay, thank you. So he switched the phone. He says, Mom, that's my answer. So wherever she went, people had already seen something. And so that's how finally we got married. But we changed days several times to allow for largely my children to heal. Also, one thing I've come to realize is that the death of a father is not as painful as the death of a mother. A mother is a very, very influential being in the raising of children, you know. And I was joking one day in this church. I said, for this reason, I can't blame the Catholics for even saying Mama Mary. Because the mother is a very influential. It pains you. Yeah, I lost my dad, I lost my mom, but I can tell you that the death of my mother shook me to the core. So I know my children, they could not easily adjust, but my friends' children, it's their father they lost. They easily adjusted, and they love me. They know we love our dad, and they like. But of course, now we're on the same page with everyone. Yeah.
Awesome. Bishop, this has been like a great journey. I'll ask that we do a part 2 because there are certain things which we haven't dealt with mainly in depth in terms of the theology now coming out of Africa, the mushrooming of so many churches and so many things, the rise of AI and all those things. I think we'll try and make another date because I know your days busy, your schedule is tight. So I would want us to do a part 2 of this. But thank you very much. And just getting to have a better detail on your journey, your rise, your highs, your lows, and all. And it's really encouraging. And it's a reminder, and just hearing you speak how you have like photographic memory, like remembering what happened in 1973, like remembering all your journeys, like you're growing up and all. Like it's really amazing and humbling to be able to hear. And thank you very much for this great opportunity to just be able to sit down with you for 1 hour, 20 minutes.
Oh, that's what has gone. Thank you so much, and I appreciate for you coming over and allowing me to speak on this podcast. And I think, yes, when God allows the opportunity, I'll be ready to still speak about things. For example, some of the offices I occupied in the body of Christ here in Zambia on the evangelical level, what influence and sittings I've had with heads of state and all that, and also continental leadership that I've had and all that. Yeah, we can share some snippets, but thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. So, Bishop, as we close, what word would you have to speak to the people listening in and all?
I would say that actually when you match your Christian faith also balanced with knowledge of what society is all about, you have a very glorious walk in life, knowing how to treat people and the like, and also knowing different cultural aspects of people makes you effective to minister to everyone. In fact, Paul summarizes everything when he says, I became all things to all men that I might win some. I think we follow that example, we'll be effective people.
Thank you very much, Bishop. So, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully you've been informed, transformed, as well as inspired. So make sure you like, share, subscribe, and share this with as many people. And let's just celebrate what God is doing. And if you're in Lusaka, come to and visit Tabernacle of David.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, so from me, Dennis Umubanga, we say bye-bye.